Jackie, more developments from there when they happen. Former CIA Station Chief Dan Hoffman here to analyze. Dan, good morning to you. I'm looking at 20 years. I'm looking at $900 billion. What can be salvaged at this point? What's happening at the Pentagon behind the scenes as they try and funnel more support into the capital city, Dan?
I think the United States government, particularly the intelligence community and Department of Defense, is transitioning into new wargaming strategy. The Taliban has taken large swaths of territory. Those major cities are falling like dominoes. Kabul is going to be under siege within days, probably. And so we have to factor in now the likelihood that al-Qaeda will homestead with even greater impunity on the territory that the Taliban controls. And we need to have a new plan for how we're going to defend ourselves in the region, starting with our embassy, and beyond, here in the homeland, from the attacks that al-Qaeda will plan on that ungoverned space. There's no question that the Biden administration did not plan effectively. The evidence of that is clear. We're sending 3,000 troops to defend our embassy. Moreover, the decision to withdraw our troops now, fighting in Afghanistan is seasonal. This is the summer fighting season. Had we waited until the fall or the winter, we might have had a more propitious opportunity to withdraw our troops in a more measured approach than we're seeing right now.
Okay, a lot to get through, Dan. Thank you for that. New York Post cover, here it is, Biden Saigon. We mentioned this a moment ago, going back to 1975, the embassy there in South Vietnam. I liken it more with the Soviet departure in 1989, February of that year. You had the Soviet Empire fight a war in Afghanistan for 8 years, and I remember vividly the tanks that were on the way out of town with that desert dust kicking up behind. I thought the Soviet Empire could not win in that country. And now the international community looks at the United States and says they can't win there either. Dan, how this goes so wrong when you know the commander-in-chief overruled the general's advice that he was given?
Well, the Soviet-supported government in Afghanistan actually looks like they're going to last a lot longer than the United States-supported government. The U.S. always maintained that there was no, military solution to this conflict, and I think that was entirely detached from reality. Of course there was a military solution for the Taliban. It was stay in the fight. They might lose every battle to the United States and to our coalition forces, but as long as they stay in the fight, they can win the war. That's the goal of an insurgency, and they've succeeded at that. The Afghan forces ultimately lack the organization, the will, the leadership, and the morale to carry on the fight effectively. And we should have known that. My goodness, we've been training them for 20 years, and we should have been able to give the president the kind of advice and guidance he needed. He probably had it, but President Biden decided that he still wanted to remove those troops. That's his policy decision, and we'll face the consequences.
Take you back in time 7 years ago, 2014, Robert Gates, former Secretary of Defense, on Joe Biden's views on foreign policy. Here's what he said back then. He's a man of integrity and capable of hiding what he really thinks, and one of these rare people, who could turn to for help in a personal crisis. Still, I think he's been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. Fast forward 2019, on CBS, he was asked whether or not he stands by that. This was the exchange.
Would he be an effective commander-in-chief?
I don't know. I stand by that statement. We disagreed significantly on Afghanistan and some other issues. I think, as I say elsewhere in the memoir, I think that the vice president had some issues with the military.
So there is Robert Gates reflecting on that. July 8th of this summer, President Biden said you got 300,000 Afghan forces that we've trained and equipped, and they can essentially hold the ground. So far, that hasn't happened at all. Your view of his judgment on this is what then, Dan?
Look, the best leaders under whom I served, including presidents, took in as much information as they could, a 360-degree optic, relying on the State Department, the intelligence community, Department of Defense. And then they would make the best decisions they possibly could based on the available information. I think in this case, President Biden appears to have started out with a policy that he believed in. I think he framed it wrong. He called it an endless war, when in fact we were simply deployed overseas in harm's way to detect and preempt threats before they're visited on our shores. I think this is the result, however, of 20 years where we got sidetracked. We went into Afghanistan to target al-Qaeda. to bring Osama bin Laden to justice, which we did, but we got sidetracked and our strategy changed to nation building. And I think that cost us a tremendous amount because that's not what our country went there to do. It's not what we're good at. And we got sidetracked from that counterterrorism mission. We're paying the price today.
Dan, thank you. It's great to get your analysis. We'll speak very soon. Again, thank you. Dan Hoffman working that, former